Hey Mike, what do we have here?
We got the iPhone XR. Brand new, box is still sealed. Hey everyone, Mike Simon from Macworld, and I'm going to be unboxing and checking out the iPhone XR for the first time. I picked it up this morning at 8 a.m. at my local Apple store in Connecticut, and let me tell you, it was empty. Nobody there. No fans, no cheering, nothing. I walked in and it was like business as usual. So I got the phone, got it quickly, and I'm going to take the plastic off and see what we got inside. So this is the blue one. I got the 128 gig, which is $50 more than the base model. The base model is 64 gigs for $750. This is 128 gigs for $799, and I think that's probably the best value you're going to get, storage-wise. So cool little thing they have in the box here. There's no XR, but the iPhone and the Apple logo matches the color you get. So there's like I don't know if you can see that, but it's like a blue shimmer. So it's just Apple's little touches. It's nice.
Typical white box.
Yeah, typical white box. It feels the same as an iPhone XS. You're not getting a $250 cheaper box. Open it up, same thing. Designed by Apple in California. All of your paperwork.
Just be careful not to cut yourself. With the sharp edges.
Let's see if there's a sticker. You got your Apple sticker and your usual things. So, I'll leave that for later. Blue color's nice. It's kind of like a baby blue, almost like you would give to a new mother at a baby shower. You got the aluminum edges. It's not the stainless steel like the iPhone XS. That's one of the changes, but it looks nice. The antenna bands match the color, and there's it's a nice feel to it. The buttons match as well. So you can see the color kind of creep over the sides of the edge here. It's almost like it's in a case. And so it does come in black. If you get the black one, it's going to be really dark. I checked it out in the store, and the colors are cool because it gives you that contrast. The black is, it's very, very dark. So I'm going to take off the plastic. I'll do that again. Come on, slowly. Single camera, as we know, glass back. So there we have it, and the back feels really nice, really nice. It's kind of tacky almost, so it doesn't feel like I'm gonna drop it out of my hands. And what's interesting is Apple isn't selling any cases for this phone yet, or they haven't even really said if they will. So maybe they kind of assume people are buying it, they're gonna buy the color they want, they're gonna keep it without a case. It has supposed to have a stronger back than the iPhone XS, and we'll see. I'm gonna use it for a few weeks without a case. I don't like cases, so I generally don't. And we'll see how it holds up.
Is it as heavy as the iPhone?
Yeah, it feels about the same. I don't have a XS with me because I had a 10 and I had to turn mine in. I didn't think of that. But yeah, it feels about the same as it does. It's a substantial phone. It doesn't feel like with the 5C, which was the last time Apple kind of did this third model color thing. That felt cheap because it was plastic. And you could tell the difference between that and the metal version of the iPhone 5S that they were selling. This feels like a substantial phone. It doesn't feel like a cheaper version of the 10 or the XS.
So what else we got in the box? Do we have any adapters, or is it just?
It's the same old, same old. We got the earbuds. We got a cable, and we got this piece of garbage 5-watt charger. That if you want to charge this thing and not take 4 hours to do it, you're going to want to buy a iPad 29-watt plug from the Apple store because I think it's $30 or I forget the price of it, but get yourself a better plug because this thing stinks. It also has wireless charging, so if you want to just throw it on your nightstand on a charger, you also have to buy a third-party charger. Obviously, there's not one in the box. Apple doesn't sell it yet because AirPower is missing in action. We have no idea where it is or if it is. Last time we heard about it was a year ago at the iPhone event, the iPhone X event. They didn't even mention it at the XS event, so we don't know what's going on with that, but it does have wireless charging. So I'm going to turn it on and see if Verizon's activation system is working. So we got the normal Apple screen. It's black, not white, as you see with some of the with the white model. I wonder if it's the white screen. Usually they match the back. But there's
questions.
Okay.
Someone wants to know, does it feel like glass?
It does absolutely feel like glass.
And is there a lightning to earphone adapter?
There's not.
Oh.
They got rid of that this year, and it's not going to come back.
Why don't we take out everything in the box?
Yeah.
just to see?
So we got the plug, we got the lightning to USB cable, and we have the earbuds, and that's it. This is fused to the bottom, and we have the paperwork. Let's see here quick. Let's see if they mention AirPower like they did on the iPhone XS. It would be, it does. Place iPhone with screen facing on an AirPower or a key certified wireless charger. So, either they're still making it or they just forgot to update this. Maybe we'll find out on Tuesday at the next Apple event. And oh, you get a SIM eject tool as well, which I'm going to use right now. So, normal screen, you're going to notice those bezels are pretty thick. I have a bunch of phones with me. Like I said, I don't have the 10 with me or 10s, but it looks like it's almost twice as thick as the 10, and those are pretty thick. Like, this is a noticeable bezel. And if you have the black, man, it's going to really look like those things are like an inch thick. So I'm going to go to the normal setup. Set up manually.
While you're setting up, we got a few more questions.
Okay.
So, does it feel slippery to hold, or is the glass grippy?
It's pretty grippy. I have I've been using the Pixel 3 XL for about a week, and this is way slipperier, and this has some grip to it as well. And it doesn't feel like I'm gonna, if I pick it up wrong, it's gonna fly out of my hands. There's definitely a tactileness to it. It almost feels like there's like a layer of like very, very thin silicone on the bottom. Like my finger can't rub across it. Like there's resistance there.
It's like trying to rub your finger across a window.
Yeah.
So it's like pure glass. Yeah,
So
let's look. Let's see.
I can't activate the phone. Let's try Wi-Fi. Hold on, I'm gonna sign into our thing. See if I remember our guest login, because I think I do.
Now, is this model waterproof or just water resistant?
Yes, it's IP67, whereas the 10s is 68, so you can't dunk it in as much water for as long. But it is waterproof. It'll, if you drop it in a sink, or if you've used it in the rain or whatever, you don't have to worry about it like that. Okay, hold on one sec. Just trying to sign into our Wi-Fi.
And it's kind of a bummer they didn't include an adapter.
Yeah, they took it away. I mean, it would have been nice. What's it, $9? I mean, come on. This is still it's still a $750 phone, so it's not like it's cheap. All right, I'm in Wi-Fi. We're gonna try again to activate. Hopefully, there's not that crush of activations that we usually get with the iPhone orders. So, and there we go. Don't look at my phone number, anybody. It's okay. You can call me. And let's see here. Don't show this, please.
All right, we got some more questions. If you didn't know the screen was LCD, would you recognize it's not OLED without having the two side by side?
Right now, no. But I'm gonna have to see as I use it. Like, right now, it's just a white screen with text, so it looks good. Hold on, I gotta look up. I forgot my Verizon PIN number. Give me a second, everybody. I gotta go to my other phone and figure out what the heck my PIN number is. But yeah, right now the screen looks good. I mean, it's an Apple LCD, so Apple LCDs are very good. But I won't know for sure until I see some pictures and actually use it with apps and things like that, and see to see how the colors are, how it scrolls, things like that.
Everyone's dying to know why you picked blue.
You know
Yeah,
why?
Mike, why blue?
I picked blue because I am giving this phone to my wife in 3 weeks, and that was the color she picked. She wanted blue, so I got blue.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice blue.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if I had to choose myself, I probably would have picked that coral color because it's interesting and it's different. But the blue's nice. I checked them out a lot in the store. The yellow's nice. The white's nice. The only one I wasn't totally thrilled with was the black, for the reasons I said before. I like the contrast, And when you get that black around the edges, it just makes the bezel look so much thicker. At least this, like, you know where the screen stops and the aluminum begins.
Do you think the aluminum looks cheap?
I don't. I mean, it certainly looks cheaper than that polished stainless steel on the 10s, but it doesn't look cheap at all. It's still, it's a nice aluminum, and I have an iPhone. This is a 6S, and that used that aluminum, and no one ever complained about it then. It's quite a bit thicker than that, though. You can see the difference there. All right, so while we're activating, I got through. That was quick. Okay, Face ID I will set up later. Just setting up my passcode. So I skipped Face ID, but this does have Face ID, which is nice. Setting up as a new phone.
In terms of hardware, it's pretty much the same as the iPhone 10s, right?
Yeah, the big differences are, as Juliet just said, the stainless steel versus the aluminum, as far as the design goes. LCD versus OLED. And it has one camera instead of 2 cameras. I don't remember. Jesus. Damn passwords. One more time, I gotta look up now my Apple password so I don't remember that easy. I'm working on it.
Have you noticed yet? Is there a color shift when you're viewing the screen from the side?
It definitely gets darker. I don't see it shifting to, well, I guess there's a slight blue, but it definitely gets, like, it doesn't take long. Like, if I'm looking at it straight on, it's bright. When I turn it just, like 20 degrees, it definitely gets dimmer.
Do you know if you can buy the phone without a carrier?
Not yet. Well, maybe today. You couldn't pre-order without a carrier. Apple sells all of its own phones unlocked, so I'm assuming either today or shortly after today, maybe in a week or so, they will sell an unlocked version of it. Yeah. Okay, let's see if. Two-factor authentication. Hold on.
Go Apple.
No, that's good. I just don't have time for this. Don't they know I'm on a broadcast? Come on. Okay.
Do you notice a difference in brightness between the LED and the OLED screen?
I haven't been able to adjust the brightness yet, so I don't know what it's set at. But assuming this is about 50%, it should get pretty bright. Sorry, so now I'm setting up the Apple ID. So I have a couple of phones here. Let's see. iPhone 5, which doesn't even turn on anymore. This was a 4-inch screen. I have the iPhone 6S, which is the same as the 8S, or the 8, it wasn't an S. And this is a 4.7-inch screen. I have the Galaxy S9, which is a 5.8-inch screen. This is the iPhone XR, which is a 6.1-inch. And this is the Google Pixel 3 XL, which is 6.4. So you can see the differences here. It kind of fits right in between the Samsung and the Pixel. Pixel's a little bit bigger, the Samsung's a little bit smaller, and it's quite a bit narrower as well. Put it on top of it. Samsung has that aspect ratio that's 19.5 by 19.5 by 10 or by whatever it is. And it so they have a taller screen. They don't use a notch. They haven't come out with a notch phone yet. Apple has that notch, and it's a slightly different aspect ratio.
Now, they're not lined up in order of price, are they?
Let's see. I can do that. Order of price. This one was $200 back in the day because that was back when they had these. They subsidized everything and they never really knew what they cost.
Yeah.
So I think it was $650 when they came out with the fully unlocked version. $650 or $750, I don't remember. This one was $699, and this one's $749. So the bottom end of the iPhone has increased from $699 to $749. This one is the Galaxy S9. This is $710. iPhone XR is $749, and the Google Pixel 3 XL 128 version is $1,000. or $9.99 as Google likes to say. It's just a psychological barrier. Doesn't cost $1,000. So size-wise, this is probably the sweet spot. This is the S9. If you have small hands, the Pixel's big, as is the iPhone XS Max, which is about the same size as, about the same physical proportions as this. That's a 6.5-inch screen. This is a 6.4-inch screen, but this has a little bit of a chin at the bottom of it, and it has that big giant notch. So the XS Max is about this size. So it's bigger than the XR, but it's not hugely bigger than the XR. We're talking about 4/10 of a screen size difference. So continue this. Continue. All right, so it's just going through its usual setup process. The notch is a little bit wider than it is on the XS, and it looks like it's a little bit thinner. I don't have it here to compare, but it does look like it's a little bit shallower and definitely a little bit wider. So that'll be interesting to see how that what they do with these icons up here. I guess there's a little less space between them, so they're a little bit more condensed. The battery, the Wi-Fi, and the cellular settings.
Now, compared to the Pixel 3 XL, it's definitely smaller.
Yes, both screen size and in proportions.
Dan wants to know if you wish the phone was bigger or smaller.
I like big phones, but this seems like a pretty good size. 6 inches, 6.1 inches. I mean, that's a good size for both viewing content and for holdability, for lack of a better word. But I would buy a 7-inch phone if I could. I don't mind putting big phones in my pocket. I'm looking forward to that next generation of folding phones and screens getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So personally, I would probably buy the XS Max, but that's $400, $350 more than this phone. If you don't want to spend $1,100 on a phone, this is a nice size. You're not really compromising too much. It's still 6.1 inches. That's not small. This, so this was the prior small size. And here you're making a conscious decision. I want a small phone. This doesn't feel like you're choosing a smaller screen. It just feels like you're choosing, your priority. Your priorities are different. You don't mind OLED. Maybe you don't mind that second camera. The existence of this phone really makes the iPhone XS feel like an Apple enthusiast phone, whereas this is like more of the mainstream everyday iPhone user. So I'm going to check out the brightness because I can't remember how to do anything. Sorry, I use Android a lot. I have to learn everything again. So where's it? I remember. It's up in the corner, right? Okay. Nope, this one. Okay. So brightness is way low on this. So this can get super bright. Let me compare that to the Pixel, which is OLED. I'll put this on max brightness, and we'll, it's going to be a little tricky to show, but it definitely gets plenty bright. It's a nice screen. It's 720p, but we're talking about a condensed pixels, and you're not holding, you're not looking at it way close to your face. So at a normal viewing distance, I mean, this looks pretty close to the resolution of a real like a WQXD or the iPhone XS. It doesn't look like I'm looking at a subpar screen or something that's the pixels are noticeable. If I had a magnifying glass, I'm sure I can see it more than I could on the XS. But the text is clean. It's easy to read. It scrolls nicely. I don't have any apps because I didn't set it up, but we can look at. We'll go into the App Store quick.
Ken wants to know, does the XR screen size slap between the XS and the XS Max?
No. Yeah. This one, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. Yeah, the 10R is right in between. So the 10, or the XS, is 5.8 inches, and the XS Max is 6.5 inches. This is 6.1. It's almost exactly in between as far as size goes. Again, the difference is this is LCD. So with OLED, you get those true blacks, and you know the color accuracy is real on point. But Apple's LCDs have always been great, and I'm not expecting this one to be a noticeable downgrade. But it is different. You're not getting the latest technology, and you're not getting the best possible iPhone screen you can get. But you know that's $250 more, or $350 if you get the Max. So you can see, you know, colors here. They look like this is a Candy Crush story. So that's super, you know, vibrant, and you know those colors look good. Again, if I turn it, there's a definite shift in brightness. I don't necessarily see a blue shift. Like,
Yeah,
but,
I'm not
but that's
seeing it either.
really more of an OLED thing, not so much LCD. LCD is more brightness and angles than OLED is. But it looks, I mean, that picture looks great. The colors pop. They're crisp. Here's another one. And again, this is on max brightness, so I turned that all the way up.
And Mike, what are we doing here?
Oh, thank you. This is a first look and an unboxing of the iPhone XR. I already unboxed it. Well, not much in the box that you wouldn't expect. Earbuds, crappy charger, and a Lightning to USB cable. You got a SIM tool. You got a bunch of Apple things and stickers. You got a quick start guide that still mentions AirPower for some reason. We don't know if it's coming yet. And you know, this is the phone here. I got it in blue. Glass back, feels really nice, and a single camera. So let's look at that quick. We'll go into the camera. So one thing this phone is also missing is 3D touch. So on the 10s, you can still, you know, you still do these things, but it's a different. Like, I don't have to touch the screen forcibly to do it. It's all based on haptics. So Apple is using its engine just like it does on the MacBook with the trackpad. It kind of simulates that hard touch into the screen with vibrations and things. And in addition to the different method, it also takes away some of the functionality, like the icons don't have the, you know, when you click it, you don't get those menus, things like that. I'm assuming Apple will develop that system out as this phone becomes popular and becomes part of the lineup. But right now, 3D touch is gone from this phone, and we'll see what happens to it on the higher end phones. So open the camera, and we still have portrait mode, but it has to be people. So this says against a sharp subject, blah blah blah. So that's just telling you what portrait is. But if I try to do it with this, say I want to do a portrait mode with the box, you can see that there it says no person detected. And normally, on a phone with a dual lens, like or even one that doesn't, with that, like the Pixel 3 has one lens, but it still allows you to do portraits of, you know, of dogs and cats and flowers and whatever you want to do. This doesn't, and that's certainly a limitation if you use portrait mode a lot for inanimate objects or animate objects that aren't people. So this will do. But if I do a picture of Chris, I mean, boom, it tells me what's going on, and it doesn't say no person detected. And I'm going to take a photo.
Even though I'm holding a big camera.
Even though you're holding a big camera, it still recognizes your face. And good. And that's that. It does. It's hard to tell because the background is pretty dark there, but it did blur it out now. So I'll zoom in, and it recognized so that's blurry, but the camera that was part of him is there. So it does recognize things that are on you. It just won't do it for non-people. But the edges look pretty good there.
We've got a few more questions.
Okay.
Ken wants to know how much storage you have.
I got 128 gigs. That's the middle. That's $799. 64 gigs is the low end. That's $749. And at the top is 256, which is another $100. Is $899. That's a lot of storage. I think, for my money, 128 gigs is the sweet spot. $800, $800, and you know, it's not cheap, but it's a good gigabyte to money ratio.
And Camille Obaidullah on Periscope wants to know what you think of the quality of the display.
It looks really sharp. Again, it's an LCD versus OLED. So the biggest thing I see right now is the blacks. like when you get, I mean, it's tricky to see. I'll open that because that's a dark mode. So you can see at the top there,
Yeah. I can
it's
see.
not true black, because on OLED you can actually turn those pixels off, and it's not, you know, you're physically not seeing them. LCD always has to be backlit, so you can't really get, you know, the deepest black is still going to look like really, 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 really dark gray, because every part of the screen has to be backlit, which is why we have those thick bezels as well, because it's nearly impossible. It probably is impossible engineering-wise to get an LCD screen to look as thin as the iPhone 10 does. I mean, it's pretty impressive that they were able to do it like this, even with these bezels. Because if you look at the Pixel 3, so hold on, look. So the bezels are, I mean, that's a big difference, and these are big. But when you're looking at the iPhone 10R, those bezels are gigantic. I mean, it looks like I have a case on it.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, it looks like I have a case that's wrapping around the edges. It's, you know, when you use it, you're eventually not gonna notice it. I mean, this is what we used before, and it's even thicker than that. And these were big. It's slightly thicker than the iPhone 8. Obviously, the top and the bottom are significantly smaller, but those bezels are big. The corners around it, as you see, which is really cool on an LCD. I mean, that's taking some real serious. I mean, I've used LCDs like LG. The LG G7, for example, is an LCD with curved edges, and they're doing it with software. It's not nearly as I mean, these edges look smooth. On the G7, you can still see where it stops here, and it stops here, and then they have a curve done by however they're doing it. This is, you cannot see where the straight edge ends and the curved edge starts. They did a great job with that. It looks nice. So, as I said, Apple's not selling a case, but I got a couple here from Spigen, and I'm going to check them out. I got one clear one and one not clear one. So I'll put on I'm going to try them both on just to see how they look. Like I said, I think a lot of people are going to probably not want to put a case on. So this is it's called the Ultra Hybrid case. Oh, that's the wrong box. This is the Neo Hybrid, which is, we've seen this case on many phones before, iPhones, Android phones, everything else. So I'm going to pop this in, see how it looks.
We got a question from
Yes.
Jamie71 in Periscope. She or he wants to know, they have the 7 Plus, so
Mhm.
do you think it's worth upgrading?
From the 7 Plus, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a bigger screen. You're going to get a better camera, but the biggest thing is the processor. The A12 processor, which we've seen on the iPhone 10, is the exact same, and it is fast as hell. And from the 7, it's a huge difference over the 10. So everything's going to open quicker, and plus we got a better battery on this. The 7 Plus had a good battery. This one, I haven't had a chance to test it yet, but what I read from the people who have is that it lasts a day and then some, and you can even look in the specs, and Apple estimates that it lasts longer than the iPhone XS Max. So this is the best battery in a phone that Apple has made, and those phones last at least a day. So this is going to last you, it could last you through the weekend depending on how you use it. But yeah, I would recommend, again, I definitely recommend upgrading from a 7 Plus or earlier, because that's the sweet spot. If you bought an 8 or certainly a 10, probably not. Maybe wait a year, see what they do next year with the whatever it's going to be called then, the 11. But if you're 2 years, 3 years, and certainly if you have one of these, yeah, go for it. So this is with a non-clear case. It's fine. You can still see a little bit of the blue there in the camera case. It takes away all the front, and it makes the bezel look even bigger somehow, because it kind of adds a little bit of bulk to it. Not necessarily this case specifically, but any cases. The buttons work nice. You got things on the bottom. You got the speaker holes.
No headphone port?
No, come on, this is Apple. We don't get headphone jacks on Apple products. Are you crazy? No headphone, and as we saw in the box, no 3.5 millimeter to Lightning adapter either. So you're either going to use these, you're going to use AirPods or some kind of a Bluetooth headphone, or you're going to get an adapter from the Apple Store for $9. So that was that case. Now this one is clear, which I think is what most people are going to want to do, because again, you're buying this phone. One of the reasons is because you want a colorful phone. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think there are going to be a lot of people who choose the 10R over the 10S because they want red or they want yellow or they want blue or whatever color they want. So I'm going to check out this. There's a film over it or something. Hold on.
At BarBrother11 from
Yes.
Periscope wants to know, what about upgrading from a Note 5?
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I mean, the first question you got to ask yourself is if you want Android or not. And if you don't, sure. But I would check out, assuming you bought the Note 5 when it came out, you're used to that kind of like cutting edge flagship features, and you're missing a couple of them here. You're missing the dual camera, and you're missing the OLED screen. So I would check out if you're switching, I would check them both out at the Apple Store. Go look at that screen, because this is not the flagship. This is the second. This is right below that. So if you're coming from a phone, if you're used to getting the best of the best, while this certainly feels and looks really good, it's the 10S is a little bit better. You have the OLED screen, you have the dual camera. So go check them out in the store. Certainly compare those screens. All right, so this is a clear case, and I already like this better. First of all, it shrinks the bezel a bit because we have that clearness and it reflects the light a little bit differently. It's not, when you put that dark border around it, it just makes this bezel seem so much bigger. And in the back, we can see you can see the color you picked.
Acts as a mirror.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I think clear cases for the iPhone XR are going to be hugely popular. I wouldn't be surprised to see one from Apple before Christmas. Some kind of a $50 silicone one. But I'm surprised they didn't come out with cases. When they came out with the 5C, if you remember, they had all those cases with those holes on them, and they were in different colors, and they kind of really played up the fun aspect of it. And here they don't have one. And it's surprising that on launch day they don't have a 10R case. But I think clear is going to be the way to go with these things, assuming if you get black, maybe not, get something fun. But if you're buying it for the color and you chose your color, get a clear case. Or don't get a case at all. Okay.
Nelvin from YouTube wants to know, is the screen bigger than the 8 Plus?
Yes. The 8 Plus was 5.5 inches. This is 6.1 inches. So we're getting about, what's that, about a half an inch. And the way Apple does things, you're probably not going to see that much of a difference in the content on your screen. In some apps, you'll get a little bit more, like in Twitter or something, you'll get a little more of your timeline. But as far as iOS goes, it's still the 4 apps, it's still the 5 rows, it's still the dock, or 6 rows. It's the same, it's the same type of iOS experience as the 5.5. Everything's just a little bit bigger.
Soul Exchange wants to know about the battery life. Could you touch on that a little bit again?
Yeah, I just got it, so I don't know. It's at about a half. But the way Apple estimates things on their website, they say that this lasts about a half hour longer than the 10S. So that one lasts, 12 to 13 hours or something. I didn't test that one, but I'm comfortable to say without having tested that it'll definitely get you through a full day, and it may even get you through more, because Apple, this is the biggest spec size battery that we've seen in an iPhone so far.
You know how big it is?
I don't have it offhand. I do. I mean, it's out there. I don't have it off the top of my head. I want to say it was, around 3,000 milliamp hours, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's an LCD, so it's a little more power efficient. This phone should last at least, from morning to night, using it regularly, phone calls, emails, whatever you're doing, playing games. That shouldn't be an issue at all.
Lane wants to know, do you know anything about the official Apple leather cases?
I don't know anything about them. I know, they're available for the 10S and the 10S Max. I would assume at some point they're going to come out with a line of cases for the 10R as well, but they haven't mentioned anything about it. There's an event on Tuesday in Brooklyn, so maybe they'll come out with something on that day, and they'll have a little iPhone update. They'll talk about the pre-orders and say, oh, and here's a new case. They might do that. I do know from experience the iPhone leather cases are really good. They're not cheap. I think they're $80, but you know, it's Apple. It's an Apple product. They wear nicely. They protect the phone well, and they're worth it if you don't mind paying a lot for a case.
So do you remind us what we're doing?
Yes, I can. We are looking at the iPhone XR. I just picked it up. I just took it out of the box. We went through it already. 5-watt charger, cable, earbuds, nothing else, and mine is in blue.
How much is it?
It is it starts at $749 for 64 gigs. It goes up from there, $799 for 128 gigs and $899 for 256 gigs.
How was the lines at the store?
It was nothing. I walked right in. There was no one there. I could have talked to every single Apple, whatever the Genius specialist people, and there was no. I was shocked. I mean, I got there at 8:00 in the morning because I had to come here, but there was like nobody. So it was, and they opened early. The mall usually opens at 10. The one that I went to, and they opened early for this. And I asked the people, and they said, "Yeah, we weren't sure what to expect, and they think maybe as the day goes on, they'll get more people, which that's probable." This isn't really an Apple enthusiast phone, so the people who are like rah, I got to get their early Apple and waiting on lines in the rain, they bought the XS Max. So this is what Apple's doing here. They had the launch for those people, and if you're a diehard, you waited online and you got that phone, and now this is more of like the mass market mainstream phone. It's not cheap by any stretch. Don't think I'm saying that this is a budget phone. It's not. It's still $750, but it's cheaper, and it's just geared more towards the average iPhone user. There's colors and it's LCD, and it's just I think they're going to sell a ton of these things.
We got an interesting question.
Yeah.
From Periscope. Do you have experiences with the phone heat, Android versus iPhone?
With the phone, what?
Heat.
Oh, the way. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of hasn't been an issue lately. And a couple of generations ago, it was more so, particularly with the 6 and the 7. I will say on a wireless charger, I find that they get hotter than they will using just a cable, because the way the cable, they generally put the power in the plug now rather than the phone. But nothing to the point where I would be alarmed. Like, it will be probably when you put it on a charger, like I have the Pixel 3. When I put that on the Pixel stand, the wireless charger, when I take it off after an hour, it feels warm, but it's nothing like to the point where I was like, oh man, I got to put it down. This thing's too hot. That hasn't really happened in quite a few generations of these products.
And we got another few questions.
Yep.
Did you buy Apple Care Plus? And can you repeat the questions I'm saying, because it's hard to hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the question was about Apple Care Plus, and I did because, well, two reasons. One, I recommend it because it's made of glass, and if you drop it, Apple will fix it for, I don't remember what the price is now, maybe $79, and they'll replace the screen or the back. I also got it because I'm on the iPhone upgrade program, and they kind of force you to do it then because you're essentially renting it, so it's theirs. So they want to make sure it's covered, and so that's an extra $199, I think, on top of the price. So it works out where I owed $100 today, and my bill is, I think, $39 a month for the next year until I upgrade again. Okay, what else could we look at here? Anything else, Juliet?
Yeah, Lisa on YouTube wants to know, which do you like more, the XS, the XS Max, or the XR?
Yes, that's a good question.
What is the question?
The question is which phone I like more, having seen all three of these now, and I mean it's a real personal decision, because if you like colors and you don't mind bezels, the XR all the way. But personally, I like skinny bezels. I like bigger phones, so I would go for the XS Max, even though that's $300 more, $400, or whatever it is, $350 more than this phone. That's the one I would pick because I have big hands and I like big phones. I think a lot of people are going to really like this phone, particularly when you go to the Apple Store and you see them all three next to each other, and you realize, one, this isn't the smallest phone, and two, it's the most kind of playful. The other ones are black, white, and gold. This has red and blue and yellow and that coral color and white. You can really kind of express your personality with the color you pick. And with the exception of those bezels, they look extremely alike. It's that uniform experience. It's the notch. It's the curved edges. They look next to each other in a store. They look remarkably similar. You don't really notice the differences until you get up right next to them, next to each other.
Soul Exchange on YouTube wants to know, does the camera have the default beauty effect that can't be removed?
That's a good question.
Okay, so this is the question was about the quote-unquote beauty gate that we've been seeing in iOS 12. So let me check the version here, and that will inform my answer. So I am on iOS 12.0. So yes, it does have that, and I'll tell you why. It's not a feature. Like, Apple didn't add a beauty filter to the front camera. What it was doing, it was messing up the way it was fixing the white balance or something like that. I forget. I don't remember. I don't have the explanation off the top of my head. But it was a bug, and Apple fixed it in iOS 12.1, which will be coming out, I'd say, any day now. And I'll have to, not me, but whoever has the iPhone XS at Macworld will run it through its paces and kind of check it out. But Apple says they've figured out what was causing that, and they've isolated it. And in 12.1, which again coming out probably within a week, will fix that. So that's not going to be an issue on any of these phones. But as it stands now, it's the same front camera as the 10. So you got Face ID and the True Depth and all that. So I would say, out of the box, it'll have it. In an update very soon, it won't.
We've got another upgrade question from
Sure.
YouTube. The Shy Machine 1 wants to know, I have the 6 Plus. Should I upgrade to this? Is the screen nicer than my phone? Than the 6 Plus?
Yeah, I'd say it's as nice. Oh, the question. So somebody asked whether this is a nicer screen from the 6 Plus. I have a 6 or 6S. And hold on, let me just bump up the battery here. Bump up the brightness.
Yeah, let's put them side by side.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. So that's that. I would say, I mean, I don't have this isn't the Plus, so this is it's quite a bit smaller. But just looking at the text and looking at the colors, they are extremely similar. Like, let's check out that. Like the FaceTime icon. The green is definitely deeper on the iPhone XR. It's a little crisper. It's not like the like it looks like it's a little blown out on the 6, whereas the XR just looks a lot crisper and a lot cleaner. The green, so I would say it's definitely an improved screen. They're calling this Liquid Retina, whatever that means. So there's definitely some technological improvements over even the 8, let alone the 6. So over the 6S or the 6S Plus, I would say this is a marked improvement over those phones. And yeah, I would definitely recommend upgrading from a 6. I'd also recommend getting a new battery before the end of the year, because Apple's giving, not giving away. They're charging $29 to upgrade the batteries in 7 6s, iPhone 7s and iPhone 6s, and go get that, because it makes a huge difference in your performance.
This is a great question that we got from YouTube. Joris wants to know, which is better for normal users, the XS Max or the XR?
I mean, I guess it depends on, okay, question. Which is better for normal users, the XS or the XR? And I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of normal. But let's say a normal person doesn't want to spend $1,000 on a phone, but still wants to get a really good iPhone. I'm going to say the XR, because you're getting the same chip, you're getting the same storage. You're getting, or it's not the same storage. There's no 128 gig model on the iPhone 10, but you're getting a decent amount of storage. You're getting a good camera that it's a single lens, but it's the same single lens as the iPhone 10. You're not getting that second 2x optical zoom lens. You're getting Face ID on the front for security. You're getting a really nice design. You're getting colors. You're getting wireless charging. And you're getting that A12 chip, which is just a screamer. So I think, if you're not looking to spend a bundle, but you still want to spend enough to get a great phone, this is going to be the one that most people are going to choose. Plus, the screen's bigger. I mean, it's LCD versus OLED, but you're getting on the 10s it's 5.8, on the 10R it's 6.1. So it's a little bit of a bigger screen. You're not sacrificing a quality or size just to get the less expensive iPhone.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what we've been doing, Mike?
Yeah. So once again, this is the iPhone 10R. I'm unboxing it and checking it out for the first time, just my first impressions. Once again, in the box, we got a 5-watt charger, we got the Apple earbuds, and we got a Lightning to USB adapter and some paperwork and stickers. No 3.5 millimeter to Lightning adapter. You're going to have to spend $9 on that if you want one. And this is the phone here. I got mine in blue. I don't have a case on it. It's a glass back, but it feels nice. It's very tacky when I run my finger across it. There's resistance. It's not just super slippery. And you can see the screen. This is at full brightness. It's a good screen. The only thing that it's a big difference from OLED, and it's a bit of a bummer with this notch because you're never going to truly be able to find a wallpaper that blocks it out. It's always going to look, as you can see here with the black, it's always going to look like dark gray. It's never going to be true black like OLED because it's backlit, and that's the way it's going to be.
Now the back glass, that's Gorilla Glass 5, I believe.
Maybe. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't know if it's Gorilla Glass, but Apple says it's a stronger glass. They always talk about the glass. I don't remember the exact specs of it, but they did say it's able to withstand drops. I don't remember who the reviewer was. I can't remember, but somebody did drop it and they showed it, and it shattered, just like the front. It's glass, so if you drop it the wrong way, the back of this will break and it will kind of spider, just like we see on the front screen.
And a reminder, we're live on Twitter and YouTube and taking questions.
Yes, we are live on Twitter and live on YouTube for a few more minutes, and we're taking your questions. So if you have anything to ask about this, first impressions, hit me up.
Yeah, we've got a few. So Derek on Periscope wants to know, can the 10R play YouTube in 1080p?
Oh, that's a good question. Definitely not HDR. I know that for a fact. It's a 720p screen, so I'm going to say no. I mean, it's not a 1080p. It's not a full HD screen. It's a 720p. So my guess is my guess is no. But I'm also going to say at this size, that's not a huge detriment to I mean, how many movies do you watch? However many videos you watch on this, they're still going to look good. They're still going to look bright and crisp, and the colors are going to pop. I mean, it's a 6-inch screen, but you're not getting the HDR 1080 experience of the XS 10s. Actually, I always say that.
Greg wants to know, is it water resistant?
Yes. Question was if it's water resistant. It's IP67 rated, which is a little bit lower than the IP68 rated 10s, but you'll still be able to take it into a pool. You just can't go. You can't do it for as long, and you can't do it for as deep. But it's still water resistant. You can still get it wet. You can still take it outside in the rain or drop it in a sink or something like that, and it'll be okay.
Lane wants to know, how thick does it feel in your hand?
It's pretty substantial. So I have here, this is the Pixel 3, and it's a touch thicker than the 3XL. It has curved edges, so it kind of conforms to your hand, but it definitely feels like, here's the iPhone 6. It's way thicker than this, or the 8, as it were. It's the same, it's the same chassis, and it's definitely thicker. It feels about the same as the iPhone 10, to be honest. I mean, that's not a thin phone either. That's maybe 8 millimeters thick. I don't remember, but this feels about the same. Maybe with the aluminum, it feels a little bit lighter, but it's definitely not a thin phone, which I'm glad about. That push that Apple had to make it thinner, sacrificing, battery life and things like that. Like, this is fine. It doesn't feel overly thick, but you're not going to pick it up and go, wow, this is so thin.
So we've got a few more questions from
Yep.
YouTube. The Shine Machine wants to know, when you press on the screen, does it look stretched when it covers the entire screen? Maybe like when you press down on an app, does it look stretched?
Stretched. The question was when I press down, does it look stretched? And I'm a little confused of what that means. It doesn't have 3D touch. Is that the question? I don't know what that means.
We'll see if they follow up.
Okay.
How do they fit in your pocket?
Oh, good question. Okay, let's do that. All right, so I have an empty pocket, normal pair of jeans, and yeah, it fits nice. You can see the outline of it there. I got some space. It's obviously not going to be as small as the 6. The 6 kind of gets lost in my pocket, but it's about the same as the Pixel.
Can you still bend down with it?
Oh yeah, sure. Like that. Yep. And I'll put this one in. I have I don't have skinny jeans, so I guess if you do, it might be a little bit of an issue, but it's a good size because they took away they took away the chin and the forehead where the home button was, so even though it's a 6.1 inch screen, it doesn't feel any bigger than the iPhone Plus did from last year.
Brian on Periscope wants to know, is it running 12.1?
It is not. The question was, what OS is it running? It's still running 12.0 or 0. So it didn't even say 12.0.1, which just came out. So presumably it's an iPhone 10R build that includes all that stuff. And the 12.1 update, I think they're on the 5th beta by now, or 4th or 5th or 6th, something like that. So that should be coming, I would say, within days, maybe a week.
Kate wants to know, if you drop it from 5 feet from the ground, a typical drop, do you think it will easily break?
I'm not going to try that. The question was, if I drop it from 5 feet, which is about here,
Drop it.
will it break? Well, I paid for this with my own money, so I'm not dropping it. I'm going to say two things. One, it depends on the surface. So if you're dropping it on a carpet, obviously it won't. But if you're dropping it on on concrete, I say most definitely. It's also going to depend on how you're dropping it. Like if you kind of fling it, absolutely it's going to crack. But if you're just kind of holding it and you go to put it in your pocket and you drop it, I mean, if it hits this aluminum edge, it should be okay. But I would try to recommend against doing that because again, it's all glass, and at the very least, it's going to chip and scratch because it's.
So I mean, you never really
glass.
know.
You never really know. No, I mean they test these things. They put them through their paces and they try to give you the best or the strongest glass that they can give you. But it's glass. Glass breaks.
All right, we got a few more questions. So
Okay.
make sure everyone submits their questions before we wrap up. Nate wants to know, how does the phone use its alternative to 3D touch?
Okay. So what it does is it uses. So the question was, how does the iPhone XR simulate 3D touch? Because the 10R, because they took that away here on the iPhone 10, and I think it started on the 6 or maybe the 7. I don't remember. You could kind of force touch, so you would be able to touch on the icon, skip this, and go to a new interface where it gave you options. You can't do that here. So if I press on that screen, I'm getting that wiggle mode, they call it, and I can delete apps and things like that. Here, on the lock screen, this is where that new method comes into play. So I can click on that, and I just felt under my finger. It gave me a little tiny bit of haptic feedback, and the flashlight turned on. It's a little bit different than just tapping. So if I tap, nothing happens. I have to kind of press a little bit deeper into it. And in that instance, on that icon, it feels a lot like 3D Touch did. But when I'm talking about the icons on the home screen, there's just one level of force, if that makes sense. So before it actually felt like I was going deeper into the screen, where the first one would be the wiggle mode, and then you would go a little bit deeper and get to those shortcuts. I actually found that to be a little bit tricky when I was trying to delete an app on the iPhone 10 and previous phones, because I would press too hard and I'd get to the shortcuts, and it was hard to kind of get the right level of pressure. So in that instance, this is a little bit easier, but you're losing a lot of that functionality. I never really used it, but a lot of people did. So like you can press on the weather and get the current weather. You can press on your music and see play controls and things. None of that's here. Now that's something Apple could add in the future in updates, or maybe iOS 13, because that's, if you're using the haptic engine, they could kind of simulate that effect, simulate those levels of pressure. They're just not doing it right now.
So we got some clarification from the earlier question that was confusing. So they want to know the Shine Machine on YouTube.
Yep.
Does it cut out the screen of movies when you press on it to make it the entire screen?
Okay, let's go to YouTube.
And while you're loading that up, Noah wants to know, are the bezels noticeably different
Yes.
than the 10s and 10 Max?
Yeah, the question was, are the bezels noticeably different? And absolutely they are. They're thick. I don't have a ruler with me. I also don't have an iPhone XS with me, but I'm going to guess they're at least 50% bigger, if not more than that. They're extremely noticeable. And, when you're looking at the phone, when you're using the phone, that kind of blends away, like you don't notice it. But when you first turn it on, like, whoa, like it's stark, particularly against a white screen. You can see that bezel, and it is, I'm going to say, the thickest bezel I've seen on a phone since, like, I don't know, the Note 3 or something. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen a phone with bezels this thick. So let's play a video. We get something that's not Peppa Pig. Okay, so I'm gonna lower that. Let's see. Okay, so that is stretched. You got the notch.
Kind of tilted towards the camera. Yeah, there we
Forward check that.
go. So it cuts around the notch.
Yeah, but it doesn't fill the screen. It still has the 16 by 9
Letterbox.
Yeah, so it doesn't look stretched at all to me. It looks like the proper aspect ratio, but that notch is just awful. So I would recommend doing that, because it's noticeable. I mean, you see it.
So even when you zoom back out, it still doesn't go to the sides all the way.
Yeah, it respects the ratio,
Yeah.
but that's pretty small. So I mean, it's just a matter of, I mean, you can zoom and get it the whole way.
So I mean, to get it to full screen, you pretty much have to deal with the notch.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, but that's been the way since last year too. I mean, this is the 10. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Until Apple can make it where the camera's under the glass and still works well, that's just the way it's going to be. And I'll say again, this is definitely not definitely. It looks to my eyes to be a longer, thinner notch than on the iPhone XS. I'll have to measure it, but it looks to be quite a bit wider and a little bit shallower than it did on the XS.
So.
All right, two more questions.
2 more questions. All right. So we've got, in your opinion, 10R or 10s Max?
Which one I would get?
Yeah.
I mean, I would get the 10s Max. So the question was, do I want a 10R or a 10s Max? Personally, I use big phones, so I would get the 10s Max. I have big hands, but a lot of people don't. This is a nice kind of sweet spot for a phone. It's 6 inches, which is bigger than a 5.5-inch iPhone 8 Plus. Yet it shrinks all those bezels down and gets rid of the home button, so it doesn't feel any bigger. If anything, it's a little bit smaller in your hand. And for most people who are going to ask me for a recommendation, if you don't need the biggest possible phone you can get, this is probably a perfect size.
Or the most expensive.
Or the most expensive. Yeah, it's also cheaper than the 5.8 inch iPhone 10, and obviously cheaper than the Max.
All right, and our final question
Okay.
from Noah on YouTube. He wants to know, do you think app devs will stop developing for Apple as much because they now have 6 different sizes to develop for?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. So the question was, are app developers going to get sick of designing for all these different sizes of screen? And I don't think so. If you look at, I use Android a lot. I use Apple a lot. If you look at the difference in the apps on the two stores, there are so many developers make apps specifically for the iPhone. Apple sells 50 million of these in a down quarter. Developers are going to go where the people are, where the money is, and yeah, maybe it requires a little bit more retooling of their apps. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to kind of look at all those screen sizes and make sure that everything works properly. But I don't think an extra screen size is going to affect development. Certainly not in a negative way. Maybe it'll bring more developers because they're going to sell more of them. I don't know, but I don't think developers are going to say, "Nah, I'm tired of all that." Look, I mean, try developing for Android. There's like 25 million different sizes of screen, different manufacturers. Everyone's on a different version of the OS. I mean, comparatively, Apple keeps it pretty simple. All right, so sorry if I didn't get to your question, but this is I'm going to wrap up my first look at the iPhone XR. If you have any more questions, you can tweet me at Morlium, Morlium, on Twitter, or the regular Macworld account, and I'll get it. And stay tuned. I'll be doing a full review of this, and I'll also be comparing it against a bunch of the premium Android phones. So I got a lot of work to do. So I'll see you next time.